everyone, welcome to Oxbridge Resources Q&A. I'm Cole.
I'm Lorraine, and we're here today just to get Kobe and Laura to answer some of your burning questions about Oxbridge. We're going to be picking out some of the questions that you guys asked, and
Yeah. So hello, my name is Laura, and as you've probably seen, I'm working alongside Kobe. I'm doing the Oxbridge blogs. I applied to medical school last year, and I got 4 offers, including Oxford, which I'm hopefully going in November, given that I get the grades. And I started with my mentor about, I'd say, a year and a half ago now. I went to a national healthcare weekend. Now they're called Applying to Medicine. Getting into medicine conferences, and since then I've been involved in like various activities alongside my mentor, like from the school ambassadors, like writing an article for the magazine, and then I went to summer school as well, and it's played a really big role in my application to medical school, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions tonight. So over to Kobe.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Kobe, another year 13 student, and hopefully you know Laura and I a bit by now through Oxbridge Resources blog post series. I applied to 4 medical schools and got 4 medical school offers, and especially one that's especially relevant is Cambridge for this Oxbridge Resources. So hopefully with some credible resources, and we've just been through the application process, so hopefully we can help you guys out as much as possible. My journey with Medic Mentors, I've been with Medic Mentor for the past year too, and honestly without them I really don't know where I'd be. They've helped me every step of the way and provided me with so much support that I really couldn't have asked for elsewhere, because they've just given me kind of the ability to talk with doctors so openly is an incredible opportunity to learn so much, and also writing in the Medic Mentor magazine, essay writing competitions, and also presenting at National Healthcare Weekend, develop so many amazing skills. So hopefully you guys have that to look forward to when this quarantine and lockdown starts easing off and the situation gets better. But yeah, that's me.
Cool. We've got questions piling in already. 22. One of the top questions that is asked quite frequently is it worth applying to Oxbridge if I didn't take maths A-level?
I think if you look at for Oxford, maths is not compulsory, but I think in the statistics most people who apply do take A-level maths, but you don't need A-level maths to get a place.
So yeah, I think we've included this in our blog, in a future blog post, but originally a couple of years ago it was advised and recommended that people did maths, but actually I think 2 or 3 years ago they've taken that away, so you really don't need maths in order to apply to medicine. I think chemistry is compulsory, and obviously biology helps a lot too, so I would recommend doing biology and chemistry, but in the end of the day you want to do A-levels that you can score the best in, because that's what you'll need in order to meet your offer. And then, I mean, a lead-up question is probably going to be, should I take 3 or 4 subjects? And I made the rookie error of taking 4 and heavily
I did made the same.
Yeah, there have been a lot of people who've taken 4 and then regretted it and had to slog their way through. And luckily, hopefully we'll meet the grades, but it really is just added stress. And unless you have a burning passion to do that 4th subject, you really don't need to. And medical schools will happily, including Oxbridge, will happily take students who do 3 subjects, and especially if it's more likely for you to do 3 subjects brilliantly rather than 4 subjects mediocre sort of stuff.
And also, if you do 3 subjects instead of 4, you can probably research more into medicine, maybe read more books outside of your curriculum, have a little bit more time to focus your application to medical school. But you can perfectly take 4 subjects. But if you feel like taking 4 will make you spread yourself too thinly, then you'd probably be better off staying at 3 and focusing on applying to medical school, which is like an A-level of its own, I'd say.
Very true, yeah.
Very, very true. There was a question about the BMAT, which is quite obviously a huge section of applying to Oxbridge. And they said, is it too early to start preparing for BMAT? How did you guys prepare for it?
Personally, I sat the BMAT in November, and I prepared for 8 weeks before it, and so I wasn't thinking about the BMAT in May, but I was thinking about the UCAT. So if you're taking both, you might want to consider focusing on the UCAT first and then going for the BMAT. But personally, how I prepared for it is I used a course called BMAT Ninja from Ali Abdal online, and I went through the assumed knowledge guide that they have on the official BMAT website, especially for the second section where they focus on the science. Just making sure that I knew all of it, and then a lot of it is doing the practice papers, and you can find all of them on the official BMAT website. And you can even do them more than once. If you forget about them, then you can structure your revision, so you can try them again.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, just to add to that, I think what Laura said is amazing. Key resources I used were BMAT Ninja, as Laura said, and Ali Abdal, or what a legend. Check out his YouTube channel for sure. The tips and advice he gives out is we should be paying for it. It's amazing that it's free, so definitely go and check that out, because he's released various different videos on BMAT tips, not about UCAT, but about how to prepare for interviews, ethical scenarios, various very important things that often come up at interviews. So definitely go and check that out. Also, with regards to how long you should leave it before starting preparing for both exams, I definitely wouldn't recommend starting too early. Obviously, it's May now, so you can start thinking about the UCAT, but there really is that problem of burning out if you start too early and go too intensely and then start 3 months earlier than your exam, for example, and it's not sustainable at the end of the day. I would say probably around 2 months before each exam, just start building out gradually, maybe doing an hour a day, even half an hour a day. You just want to be as consistent as possible and cover. So, for example, for the BMAT, there are 3 different sections. In section 1, this was a long time ago, so but by doing this blog post, I'm like remembering a lot of things. But for BMAT, what's it sort of like? I know
it's almost like UCAT. I'd say it's like problem solving questions, and also like verbal reasoning, or like critical thinking.
It's quite difficult. It's critical thinking, exactly. Yeah, it's quite difficult to explain, but like Laura summed it up in a nutshell. But it is very similar to the UCAT. So actually, having done your UCAT beforehand really does help for section 1. Section 2 is slightly different. It's the science section, which is just your GCSE maths, chemistry, biology, and physics. And a lot of people, I've seen a lot of questions beforehand that people are worried, because I haven't done A-level physics, will I be able to cope with BMAT? And trust me,
I didn't do A-level physics. The physics in itself, like the content is not harder than GCSE. The only difference is that you could probably solve the question maybe in 4 or 5 minutes if you had the time, but you have only about 1 minute to answer each one of them. So that's what puts really the difficulty into it, I think.
Now, every question is definitely doable, and I think you should go with the attitude that you're more than capable of doing it if you revise the content, especially from the assumed knowledge guide, as Laura mentioned. That's such an incredible resource. It's basically like a CGP textbook, but for the BMAT. I mean, it's amazing. I think it's actually done by the creators of CGP, so you've got lucky there. But I think, definitely check out the assumed knowledge guide. But for me personally, although I hated physics, I dropped out the first opportunity I could. Physics was actually the easiest section for me in the BMAT, just because it was quite easy to work through. It's just equations that I had to learn, and it really wasn't that daunting. I think and especially by using BMAT Ninja and the resources there, and the assumed knowledge guide, it really was quite easy to navigate my way through.
So to answer the question, like personally, we spent about 8 weeks preparing for the BMAT, and we'd say that it might be a bit too early now, but it's no harm in familiarizing yourself on what the test is about right now, and then diving into proper revision later down the line.
Okay. Another big question is, can you guys describe kind of what happened to your interview and how it may be different from other medical school interviews?
Sure.
So we're not allowed, technically, we're not allowed to tell you what questions we got because we signed a non-disclosure agreement, but we can tell you roughly what they were like. So personally, for me, my Oxford interview, it was quite different from the rest of my medical school interviews in that it was much more academic, and a lot of it was based on problem solving. And a lot of basically what you get is everybody gets similar questions or the same questions on topics, and what they're doing is that they're expanding on something that you might know at A level and pushing you further to stretch you and see how you react to the new content. So it's perfectly fine if you know the answer at like the first instance, but then the tutor will probably guide you, and then you come up with some answers that you think could work, and then they want to see how you react to this, because what an interview is a mock tutorial, basically seeing how you learn and if you're prepared to think on your feet, as I call it.
Yeah.
And how about you, Kobe?
Yeah, so just adding to that, my interviews as well were, so most of my other interviews were based on the skills of a doctor, using kind of the GMC guidelines and so on, and testing teamwork, communication, so on. Obviously, Oxford and Cambridge want you to become brilliant doctors as well, but they are more interested in seeing that passion for the sciences behind medicine, because they do have that traditional course, as we mentioned in our blog post. They have that split between a 3-year preclinical and then 3-year clinical course. And that preclinical course is very scientific focused. So yeah, my interview was very academic and was just basically initially starting from a topic that I was familiar with, but then drawing it out and asking questions and just seeing how what they wanted to just see my thought process, really. They wanted me to talk them through how I was tackling a problem. And the big thing I would say is, please don't worry if you get something wrong. They expect you to get something. I mean, if you're getting everything right, that's not really showing your thought process, is it?
And they're probably going to move on if they realize that you're too much of an expert, and
Exactly.
they'll probably change the subject and put you on the spot, because that's what they're trying to see, is challenge you.
For sure. They want to see how you deal and cope under pressure, and want to see, I mean, that in itself is an amazing skill as a doctor, but as Laura said, it's really just replicating a supervision or tutorial system, and how your supervisor is just going to bombard you with questions, but it's an amazing learning experience in the end. And I think you should go into it not being scared of getting things wrong, but always thinking of explaining your thought process. Even if you're not completely sure, you say, so if I was in that boat for sure. I was just like, I'm not exactly sure, but from this various topic, I think it could be linked to, and so on. And then I just talk them through my thought process, and they were visibly happy with that. So I think although the Oxbridge interviews are slightly different and are more academic, you shouldn't be too worried about it, and you should go into it wanting to learn and wanting to try and enjoy like an academic interview as much as possible.
What they say is that if you feel like you've learned something from your interview, you've probably done well. And another tip would be trying to treat it as a conversation rather than an interrogation. Try to settle into it quite early so you can think more clearly. Because if you're a bit too nervous, sometimes it is harder to answer questions if you're not quite in the right frame of mind. So that's something that you can work on and practice.
And I suppose on that point, tips before interview, I know for myself, although I was like, okay, I'm going to keep calm, and you tell yourself before, and I mean, before interview, my heart was just running a race of its own. It was going off on, and I'm sure everyone is on the same boat. I think that's what you've got to realize. But the sooner you can get yourself into a calm state and realize, in the end of the day, they are just human as well, and they just want a conversation. They want to see who you are. They want to see a conversation and communication skill is such a big part of being a doctor, and they want to see how you can communicate and express your ideas, and that's what they want to see in the end of the day. So just be as calm as possible and just look forward to the opportunity of talking with world-leading experts. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, really. It's amazing.
One big question was, how did you guys what made you guys decide to go to to apply to Oxford or Cambridge? What was the kind of determining factor for you guys?
Before we get on to that, also, while we're still on the subject on interviews, can we do a small point that is kind of linked into the interviews of what do you think you need to selling point was during your interview that made all 4 universities accept you?
That's good. That's a good question.
I think it's a mix of several things. Like, you can't say that one single thing that you did, because I think we did prepare for quite a long time, and we practiced and did everything that we could. But for me, like, the unique selling point for me was that before going into my interviews, I had reflected a lot on my experiences, and I had like a bank basically of everything that I found important that I'd done, like that related to like the qualities of being a doctor, like empathy, teamwork, leadership, and I already had linked them to stuff in my life. Therefore, when at interview, I got asked like, "Can you tell me at the time when you showed empathy?" And then already, I didn't even have to think about it too much. I already knew what I had to reply because I'd already thought about it before. I think that could be one of my unique selling points. It's not like I memorized a script, but I had my ideas quite clearly laid out, and I practiced like the difficult questions like why medicine and why this university, like all of that kind of thing. I think could be one of my main selling points is that I had my genuine examples that I had reflected on them before going into my interviews.
Yeah. Laura's just stealing the words from her mouth today. She just covering it all. It's amazing. No, well, I mean, what she said is completely true. I think having the ability to reflect effectively is really what they're looking for, because they want you to link your various different experiences throughout clubs and activities you do at school, your academic stuff, and also just your experiences, and they want to relate that to how you can transfer that to medicine and how that will help you become a good doctor. I think having just after coming back from work experience, I always made sure to write down and kind of think about what I learned from that day. And like maybe if a doctor was working as part of a multidisciplinary team, I would reflect on, how did he show his leadership? How can I learn from that and apply that to my various activities in school? I mean, it's just trying to link various different things, and there's really good reflective cycles out there as well. So there's one in particular that's used quite commonly, the Gibbs reflective cycle. So definitely check that out and just try and use that to structure your reflections, because initially it may be a bit difficult. But yeah, with a structure, you can definitely improve. And on that note, you can also contact the doctors at Medic Mentor with your reflections, and they'll be more than happy to help you improve them. And if you have any questions, also contact us, because we'll be more than happy to help. But adding to that as well, in terms of practice really helped me and Laura become as fluent as possible, and also just ease into the situation such that it wasn't new to us and we felt as comfortable as possible for an interview. But it's just having those mock interviews really helped us just feel at ease, be able to talk through and realize it was just a conversation in the end of the day where we were trying to sell ourselves, but having reflected, we were able to bring that in very easily into the conversation. So
yeah. What made you guys choose like Oxford and Cambridge?
So yeah, I'll go. So my parents have, it's really just a personal opinion in the end of the day. I've been to Cambridge more times and I really love the place. Both Oxford and Cambridge are so beautiful. It was really difficult to choose, especially because they had their open days back to back. So it was going from one beautiful place to another, and my brain was, I had no clue which I was going to choose. But for me, in the end of the day, I've heard that Cambridge is somewhat smaller, and that kind of attracted me, having a more like a campus based, and they both have a collegiate system, as we've mentioned, which allows you to kind of mix with people from various different courses within your college. But because Cambridge has a few more colleges which are a bit smaller, I think that appealed to me a bit more, because I could just I could kind of get to know the people a bit better personally. That's why, and also more of my extended family have been to Cambridge, so that was kind of they would never have forgiven me if I had chosen Oxford.
For me, first was choosing Oxbridge, and then I really liked the course, and I thought I would really fit in well into it, and I like the idea of having a strong scientific foundation before going into the clinical training. and that was the first choice. But then I did struggle choosing between Oxford and Cambridge, as Chloe did. But then eventually it came down to maybe three things. One would be Oxford is a bit of a bigger city, but like Cambridge, I'm not sure it is a city. But like I come from quite a small town, and I wanted to have something a bit more lively, maybe more shops and more things going on. So I thought applying to Oxford could be better in that sense than Cambridge. And then I didn't go to the Cambridge Open Day, but I did go on the Oxford one because I couldn't make it to the other one. I didn't have a chance. And then when I went to Oxford, I thought it was beautiful, and I really could see myself spending 6 years of my life studying medicine there. And talking to the medical students and the teachers there, I just felt like that was a place where I would love to go. And going on the Open Day actually motivated me even more to work harder on my application, and because it became a dream of mine to go to Oxford. And I think I had a third point. Yeah. And the third point is I looked more into the extracurriculars at Oxford, and I saw that they got all sorts of things that I'd really like to get involved in, like swimming, choir, and netball, which I'm sure also have at Cambridge. But then I looked more into Oxford, and also I did Unique, an online course, like the Unique online course, and that really gave me more of an insight into Oxford. And it was fantastic because I could have the opportunity to do some assignments and get a better feel of what it would be like. And that really helped me like settle and reinforce my decision of applying to Oxford over Cambridge.
Yeah, I think, yeah, just to reiterate what Laura said, you really do have to see yourself living there. It is 6 years, it's quite demanding, and the course is very demanding. So having the ability to kind of manage that work-life balance and be able to like take your mind off the course and be able to take a walk and so on, or even engage in the extracurriculars that the university has to offer. Those are really important, especially when choosing a college within the uni. I think that's kind of should be at the forefront, making sure that you will be able to live, like slog through the 6 year haul and actually really enjoy it. And also, just a quick thing to add to what Laura was saying, it may be helpful to actually look at the various ways Oxford and Cambridge do the admissions process. So Oxford have a bit more of a clear-cut strategy in the sense that they I think have a 50% BMAT and 50% GCSE weighting.
Yeah. I'd say that actually that was a really big point on me choosing Oxford over Cambridge in the end, because knowing that I had strong GCSEs from the school that, like, in the context of the school I took them in, also made me lean towards Oxford, because I thought my application would be stronger for Oxford than Cambridge in that sense.
And to explain the Cambridge process, it's a bit more holistic. So it uses various different things, such as GCSEs, BMAT, your personal statement and so on, and especially interview performance. And on that note, Cambridge actually interview a much higher proportion of candidates. So it's around 75%, 80%, whereas Oxford cut down a lot of students before the interview stage.
It's about 25%.
Yeah, so 25%. In the end of the day, don't worry, like it does balance out, because Cambridge cut a lot of people following the interview because they use that holistic approach to give out the offers, and the offers themselves are actually a bit higher. The grades are a bit higher because of it being a lot easier to get an interview from Cambridge. I mean, getting an interview is very impressive, but Oxford's like even more difficult, and because of that, they have a slightly reduced offer. I think the typical offer is A star AA, whereas the typical Cambridge offer is A star A. So yeah, so you should also definitely think about that whilst applying.
And our next blog actually expands more on this question, so look out for that.
So that'll be coming out tomorrow. So definitely like look out for that and let us know how you think it. And we've decided to mix up the format as well, because we've included a few videos to hopefully make it a bit more interactive and engaging. So let us know how you think how the blog post is in the comment section.
Yeah.
So leading on from like applying to the institution itself, I've got a lot of questions about like colleges, because obviously both institutions are like collegiate. So a lot of people were asking kind of, how did you choose your college? Is there like a massive impact? Is there a difference between the colleges?
Yeah. First of all, like there is no difference to your like the chances of getting in don't matter. Like they're not related to what college you apply to. So what that means is that at any college you have the same chance. So when you're choosing it, you're only really putting down a preference, and you don't really have to worry too much about it, because a lot of people also put an open application, and they've got the same chance than someone putting a preference for college.
Yeah. No, trust me, it's exactly the same chance whether you do an open application or application towards a specific college. So really don't spend too much time worrying over that.
Yeah.
I think a reason why I made application to a specific college is because I went on that open day, and as Laura mentioned before, open days are such a fantastic opportunity. Obviously, it is quite difficult in these current situations, but I think you should definitely keep an eye out for in the Oxbridge or Oxford and Cambridge websites, because they're running virtual open days, I think. And I think Lorraine and Cole will definitely let you know about the updates with regards to that. But I think open days are such a fantastic opportunity of getting a feel for the place and getting a feel for the college that you feel will suit you best. I think that's how I ended up choosing St. Catherine's for Cambridge, as I felt the clubs and offers and the clubs and societies on offer were amazing. And also in every formal, they have a cheese course, which is unique to that university or that college, which I couldn't quite resist the temptation of.
Like how I went about choosing my college is that I drew up a list of things that are important to me. Like I wanted to have a place quite close to the center of town, and also a place near to a swimming pool, because I quite enjoy swimming, and categories like that, like a library or maybe a gym, stuff like that. And then I nailed it down to 4, which I visited on the open day, and then I settled for the one I like the most there.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely recommend shortlisting a few colleges before you go to the open days, because there's so many to choose from. There's 20 odd in both Oxford and Cambridge. So if you shortlist them based on their websites, if you check out their websites and see what clubs and societies they have on offer, and just base your decision mainly on whether you would enjoy living in that college, the extracurriculars available, and yeah, I think that's the way to go about it. But also, don't worry if you feel like you want to make an open application. The possibility of getting an offer from Oxford and Cambridge is the same whether you make a application towards a specific college or an open application.
Yeah, that was a question as well about submitting an open application.
Just to add, I actually met someone who got double pulled for Cambridge.
Okay.
So that just like proves more that you still have the same chance of getting in. So just hit that point a bit further.
Exactly. No, I think go for it.
Yeah, so like even if you, as they were saying, if you still have the same chance of getting in, and as that one person that I met, they got pulled twice. So one college thought they were really good but couldn't take them, so they sent her to another college, and the same process happened again. So if you are a good student, you will be able to get into Oxbridge.
Yeah.
100%. I couldn't. Yeah. And I think we've actually included it in our recent blog post where we added a small section where we mentioned that around 65% of
35% of people, like you put a preference for a college. Yeah. Like last year, 35% of people putting their college preference got an offer from a different college.
Yeah.
So you can see that even if you put a preference, then you might end up in a different college.
Yeah.
But I believe that if you're like studying at Oxford or Cambridge, it doesn't really matter what college you end up in, because they're all like really similar and they're all amazing, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
Everybody says that their college is their favorite, even if they didn't choose it.
Yeah. I think you'd be happy anywhere you end up, to be honest.
Sure.
Another question was about personal statements and about extracurriculars. Like, how do Oxford and Cambridge look at the extracurriculars? How much of your personal statement should you take up with extracurriculars?
Yeah, so well, I think we may have mentioned it already, but in our blog post. So definitely check that out because that'll be a bit more detailed. But Oxford and Cambridge do like your personal statement to be a bit more scientific. But that being said, it is very important to realize this is a personal statement you're going to be sending off to 4 medical schools, and you really don't want to go overboard on the science, because a key thing about being a doctor is managing that work-life balance and being able to also be able to succeed in the course, but also realize it's very demanding and that you need to let your mind kind of de-stress. And people do that through their extracurriculars and so on. So in order to show you're a well-rounded person, I'll definitely include extracurricular activities and do a small paragraph on how that's helped you and how that'll help you as a future doctor, and definitely link that to like the qualities of a doctor. And for example, I play chess internationally, and that's helped me a lot with decision making, problem solving, teamwork. But I don't just list these skills off the bat. I actually always linked it to how that would make me a great doctor. And also I actually linked it back to places where I'd seen this being practiced by doctors themselves during work experience. And that ability to reflect, I think that was really something that the interviews liked from both myself and Laura. So yeah, I think I've sidetracked from the question again. So it's just what should be in the personal statement, right? So that was
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I'll let Laura add a few things, but just quickly, yeah, you should definitely have a scientific paragraph, I feel, just to show your passion for the sciences behind medicine. But yeah, Laura, is there anything you want to add?
Okay, I think you can also mention, especially for Oxbridge, maybe something that you found interesting that you read. You could read a couple of books like while you're reading, and then put down something that particularly drew your interest, because that can be a starting point of conversation interview. And definitely, if you did an EPQ or anything research related, that's definitely something you want to include, because personally, I got asked about my EPQ at interview and I could confidently talk about it. And I think that's something that really can help you stand out, even though most people do it. If you can learn a lot from it and show your passion for medicine or the science underpinning medicine, then I think that's something that you can really help you to show the admissions tutors like who you really are and overall yourself.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. I mean, showing that passion for the sciences is something that they really look for. But that being said, of course, the EPQ is amazing, but I personally didn't actually do one, but I researched things myself and I included that in my personal statement, and they brought that up in an interview and I was more than happy to talk about it and actually show the passion for research. So you don't need to do something official like an EPQ. I mean, it's great if you can, but also even writing something in an essay competition or Medic Mentor magazine, that's a national publication, especially the Medic Mentor magazine. That's a national publication that even doctors are fighting for. So having something like that really makes you stand out, and it's also a way of researching a topic further. So I definitely recommend you guys to go ahead and try it. And I think you just need to contact Medic Mentor Mag. I think maybe Dr. Silva can put the email because I don't know off the top of my head. But it'd definitely be useful if you guys did a research project like that. So.
Yeah, and it's something that doesn't only help you in writing with your personal statement, but getting into that mindset of like delving into a topic far more in depth than you would at school helps you even further down the line when you get to interview and you're presented with challenging topics that you've never come across before. But if you come across something like fairly hard and try to like grasp it yourself before going in, it can definitely help you answer those questions.
100%, yeah, for sure.
I had quite an interesting question. It was, what do you guys think was the hardest bit of like an Oxbridge application for you?
I think I found the interviews, I wouldn't necessarily the hardest, I'd say challenging, but also the funnest part of the application process. I mean, of course, an interview is there's a lot riding on it, and it's easy to get nervous and anxious, and I'm sure all of us do at some point. But I think what really changed it for me from being that challenging interview to actually a quite fun interview was my mindset beforehand, actually going into it wanting to just enjoy it as much as possible, but also realizing that I'm not a robot. I won't get it all right, but I should just show my thought process, and that will be enough. That will show my ability to communicate, and that will show my passion for research and my ability to like make decisions when I'm a bit stuck, just thinking outside the box and linking back various different things. I mean, that's what they wanted to see in the end of the day. So actually having a great mindset beforehand is so important. And I think having mock interviews and so on, and also as Laura mentioned, like researching really does help for interview, because it already develops those key skills of thinking a bit deeper, deeper around the spec and so on. So yeah, that's what I felt was the most
I'd
challenging.
say like one of the most like hardest things for me was at one point I almost didn't apply, and I think that was my hardest point when it was like maybe the summer of year 12. I wasn't exactly sure if I should put one of my choices as Oxford, and getting through like that kind of self-doubt and was probably one of the most challenging bits, and then starting to believe more in my own skills, and then I could see that through my successes at school and my activities. I think that could be one of the bits that I struggled with at some point, but then I worked on my confidence and trying to develop myself and pushing myself to outside of my comfort zone, doing things that I generally wouldn't do. I think this process, you can really get a lot from it, but you really have to have this mentality that it is a challenge, and at the end of the day, even if you don't get in, like all of the work that you have put in will definitely help you in the future when you become a doctor.
Yeah.
That's why I think was one of the hardest bits, but in the end it turned out to be a positive.
Yeah, I think you can easily allow this application process to kind of govern yourself, like your ability and so on, but you really shouldn't let that be the case, because I mean, imagine there's such a small proportion of people I'm able to get an offer, and even then people have good days, bad days at interview. It's just life. Life is a roller coaster, and at the end of the day things will go well, but everything happens for a reason, and you just have to realize the effort you've put into your application, even if it doesn't, unfortunately, if you don't get an offer at the end of the day, that will help so much for the other interviews. And yeah, and I mean, the thing is, your Oxbridge interview is actually probably mostly like the first interview you have, because it's in December, so it's such great practice actually. And it's probably going to be the most stressful interview you have, because it's just academic kind of interrogation. But I think having that preparation just makes the other interviews so much easier, and you also learn so much and research so much, and had that opportunity of kind of thinking outside the box, which you probably haven't been able to do, like mostly because mostly you're just sticking to the school spec. So I think definitely don't allow it to govern your self-worth, and just try your best, go for it, back yourself if you have the supporting grades. But if it doesn't work out in the end of the day, then there's plenty of other options, and make amazing doctors wherever you go.
What do you guys think, looking back, you would have done differently throughout the whole process, throughout year 12? Anything that you did you feel like maybe you wasted your time on a bit? Yeah.
I think at the beginning of year 12, I undertook way too many activities, way too many things on my hands that I definitely wasn't going into enough depth and wasn't reflecting on what I was learning, but I was just juggling with way too much. So what I did change, maybe halfway through year 12, I decided to drop some of the things that weren't really helping me, that I thought would aid my application, but in reality, it was much better if you can take care of yourself and do the things that you focus on the things that you're doing and do them well and reflect on them. You can gain so much more if you make the most out of your experiences rather than have millions of things to do and just do them like not that well. That's what I think that I changed halfway through year 12 and really helped me going through with my application.
Yeah, so I think that I'm quite similar actually. I think the thing that I regret is not actually reflecting right from the get-go. My mum was so kind for organizing some work experience through contacts, friends, and I really just, although they're a fantastic opportunity, I mean, once I got to actually see through like cardiothoracic surgery, I got to actually see like a live heart beating and how
Well, that's
amazing.
amazing.
I mean, you'd really want to talk about that in the interview, but I just had forgotten all about it by interview because I hadn't immediately reflected upon it. And I think that's something I definitely regret because it's such an amazing opportunity that I couldn't expand upon. But I learned from that, and like these regrets are there for you to learn from. So I learned from that, and since then I've been taking notes from every work experience I've and opportunity, not even only work experience, from activities in school I do, and kind of linking that to how that helped me be a good doctor. So
Yeah.
that helps so much in an interview because they really just want you to sell yourself, but also connect your various different experiences to why they should choose you as a medical student.
And they don't have to be specifically medically related experiences because all of those transferable skills that you've been learning throughout the years, not even from year 12, but from before, they really all will help you when it comes to like writing a personal statement and interviews and finally getting a place at medical school.
For sure, yeah.
I've also seen people talking about like time management and how they're struggling to balance anything at the moment, like everything at the moment. What, any advice from you guys?
Yeah, I think a lot of it can, like, we have a lot, everybody has different things going on at the moment. And your time management can also depend on how, if you have the like tools to cope with the demands that are coming to you. And personally, like throughout sixth form, I managed my time by allowing myself like timetabling when I was going to do my revision, and not looking too far ahead, but like setting myself goals like what I wanted done by the end of a study session, and also taking breaks throughout. That really helped me just really focus and then come back with a fresh mind. And in terms of time management, I think it's quite important to allow yourself time to do things that you really enjoy, like music or sport or anything else that can really help you stay um, well with yourself and will keep up your mental health. So when you come to work, you can really focus and get things done. And a really big aspect, I think, can also be procrastination, which I think we're probably all a little bit guilty of procrastinating a bit. I think like getting through that or like managing procrastinating less can also do wonders for your time management because sometimes you think that you haven't got time, but you're spending time waiting to do something that you know you have to do, when really that time you could get your work done and then do anything else you want to do later, or just allow yourself to have more of a structure to your life. I'm not sure how it works for you, Chloe.
Yeah, I think something that's definitely helped me is actually realizing everyone is in the same boat. I think like the other day I was asking Laura, oh, how do you manage your time, Laura? I can't seem to get anything done. And she was like, oh, I thought I was the only one. I mean, we're all here and I mean, this is a very difficult time. There's not really, our schedules have been disrupted heavily we, and obviously with this pandemic, we really want to help as much as possible, but we're kind of in the sidelines and our work, we're being bombarded with work. It is quite difficult to manage everything. I think just setting a schedule for yourself and trying to bring some sense of normality really does help. So I think, yeah, so for example, when I wake up, I try and go for a walk in the morning. I think that just helps clear my mind. Just do whatever helps you get into the right frame of mind. And I feel exercise is a great way of doing that because it is quite easy to become lethargic and just kind of get into a bit of a rut. But taking time for yourself and caring for your mental health will do wonders and actually help various activities that you've got planned. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing a schedule and also just taking time for yourself and realizing you're not superhuman. You can't do everything at once. But if you prioritize what you feel is the biggest priority at the moment, what you need to get done as soon as possible, I think just prioritizing and organizing yourself by doing that will definitely help.
And I don't know if you come across the important and urgent, like, square.
The square thing,
Yeah. So you have important things and then urgent. So you have important and urgent. Is that the stuff you have to do like right now, like the house is on fire, you have to like put it out. And then it's about important and not urgent. There's like a second box that sometimes we neglect, and then we let it become the first box. So it's working on the stuff that is important to you and the stuff that is urgent too, and then not doing so much of the stuff that you don't consider important to yourself, and maybe learning how to say no sometimes to some things. And
I
also
definitely need to take a leaf out of that bit.
I'd say maybe not spending that much time on your social media or phone, stuff that isn't really helping you, but you just tend to spend too long in. Myself, I like turned off my notifications throughout my application to medical school, and I basically stopped. I didn't stop contacting my friends, but I just stopped using my phone as often to focus my time on what I thought was most important to me.
I think it's a difficult balance to strike, and everyone obviously works in a different way. I personally prefer to not have too many distractions. So yeah, from GCSE onwards, I've kind of not been on social media as much, just because I feel that works as best for me, and kind of I just spend, it's a minefield once you get into kind of Instagram or whatever. You just kind of just spend way too much time, then realize, oh, what's the time now? And then it's all kind of flown by. So I just feel, yeah, I think also with regards to procrastination, so as I mentioned, we're all in the same boat in that sense, as in we all procrastinate. But actually, there's this 2-minute rule sort of thing where if you just do something for 2 minutes, even if you really don't want to do it, just do it for 2 minutes, and then suddenly you'll kind of get into the swing of things, and you realize, okay, it's not actually as hard as I thought it was. And you just feel your mind kind of has that thing, it just wants to get everything it started completed. So
it's really rewarding when you finish a task, isn't it?
Sure. And seeing that tick on the to-do list, I'm just getting everything completed is so rewarding in the end of the day. So just starting things when you really don't want to, just start for 2 minutes. Just tell yourself, okay, if I really can't hack this after 5 minutes or so of doing it, then okay, I can stop. But once you've started, it is actually quite easy to get done. So yeah, I think that's a tip I would definitely share.
There's been an overload of questions about wider reading, resources that you used, articles that you looked at. I mean, that's quite a difficult question to answer because there's loads out there that you could look at.
There's so many things that you can read.
Yeah.
There is for Oxford, they have a reading list in medical school that you can check on their website, and then they've got a list. I'd say it's about 20 books or more, and then you can pick out ones that interest you and have a look because they recommend them, because they're all really good. I've recently started reading stuff from the New Scientist too. That's quite interesting. And back when I was applying, I quite enjoyed listening to podcasts as well, BBC4 and.
For sure. And I think also I've kind of made it part of my daily routine that I would wake up and for just 15 minutes, I would just read BBC Health, download the BBC News app, and it's just kind of reading through the articles, and it's actually quite interesting. There's so many different things going on in the world, and obviously now it's kind of all coronavirus related, but back whilst we were applying, it was quite surprising because the day before the interviews, I was just reading through a couple of articles, and then suddenly it was so I had my Cardiff University interview, and it was Cardiff University have helped debate this vaccine. I was like, okay, that's great, I can talk about that. And it actually came up in an interview. They're like, what have you read recently? And I just said, okay, it's a bit coincidental, but Cardiff University helped do this, and it just it's amazing how much. How much research is going on as we speak now. So yeah, BBC Health is a great way of kind of having that foundation for research. But if you see a topic that you really like, then there are many more articles online. So Laura mentioned the New Scientist, that's amazing. BMJ as well, especially the student BMJ, whilst you're applying, because that's quite digestible and you can easily kind of read through it and understand what's going on.
And the Mentor magazine too.
Yeah, Medic Mentor magazine, of course. I mean, that's not only kind of talking about various different research topics, but that's actually talking about people's journey through the application process. So you get the full package there, you get everything all in one. So definitely subscribe for the Medic Mentor magazine as well. But there's so many research ways to kind of build your scientific foundation out there, not only through books, but also through online resources. And I'm subscribed to like the Focus magazine as well. Just scientific things that you can. There's multiple resources out there to help you. But
linking to that, the EPQ, a lot of people were asking, first of all, whether it's worth it and whether like doing it on like a health related topic would be a good thing to do in terms of like the research aspect of it and the wider reading aspect of it.
I did an EPQ, and for me, it was definitely worth it because it allowed me to do my own like literature review on a topic, on a healthcare topic I was really interested in. And I'd say if you're applying to medicine, it's probably worth doing one relating to medicine, any healthcare related things, because it really can help you develop your interest for a specific topic and then allow you to speak at interview and in your personal statement, showing your passion for the subject. And I'd say you don't have to do it. Say Kobe didn't do an EPQ, then I think doing one can give you some sort of structure. And a lot of it, of the EPQ does come down to the learner record, which is basically a long reflection of how you're doing and what you did and the changes that you made in your decisions that led you to the project that you present at the end of the day. So I think for me, doing an EPQ was worth it.
I think I'm not exactly sure, but for EPQs you also have a supervisor, right? A teacher supervisor. So kind of having that port of call to just contact and kind of do it together, and that's the sort of thing you'll actually have at university in research project. You'll have your supervisor there to help you out whenever you have questions. So it's just kind of replicating that. So having an experience from an early stage such as year 12 would be great in kind of providing that foundation for and understanding how research works. So.
And then Oxford and Cambridge are quite essay based. Like they do a lot of essays every week. So I feel like having done a 5,000 word dissertation, I'm sort of preparing for like the weekly essays that I'm going to get. So hopefully that makes it even more worth it.
Sure.
Linking to the essays, actually, I had a question saying, like, what do you think about like how many essays Oxbridge make you do, like basically linking to like the traditional structure of the Oxbridge course, whether what your opinions on that are?
So we actually talk with, there were two, there was a current medical student, Lucy Richmond, a Cambridge medical student, who you've probably seen answering a few questions in the blog series comment section. And there's also a former medical student, now actually one of the vice presidents of Medic Mentor, Soham, and he was like, we're very grateful that he gave up a few minutes of his time to talk us through how he felt the journey was. But he actually mentioned how having those 3 years without patient contact, just doing essay after essay, he did start struggling a bit, and he kind of was wondering, okay, how is this going to help? But he actually found it very useful. He mentioned how it's very useful in developing that scientific understanding and building upon and just being able to assess various different pieces of information and see which is a good research article, which is a bad research article. And it gives you the ability to question reliable sources of information, which is such an incredible important skill as a doctor, because you'll get various different information here and there, but you need to make a judgment call in the end of the day and make that right decision. So we'll go into more detail regarding that in our next blog, which will hopefully come out tomorrow. But I think that essays having a lot more essays is a unique thing to Oxbridge, but you can definitely like learn a lot from that. And also it's linked to your supervisions. So you actually talk about your essays in your supervisions and tutorials, and being kind of questioned on the essay topic really does help develop your understanding as well as writing the essay. So personally, I'm really looking forward to it. So.
And I think in terms of numbers, I think Lucy mentioned that she had 3 essays a week.
Yeah.
And 2,000 word essays a week. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So it's not too bad. It's doable.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who maybe at this stage isn't fit? I suppose because of lockdown, I think because of opportunities being taken away and lack of motivation, I think a lot of people aren't feeling confident about applying to like such a competitive uni come October, which is coming quite quickly. What do you think you would say to someone who maybe is deterred from applying to a uni like that?
I honestly think that this is a blessing in disguise sort of thing, as in the sense that you have a lot of time now to actually research the whole application process and actually understand whether Oxbridge will be suitable for you. I think as long as, if you've got the supporting grades, I think that's the first thing you need to check out for sure, because there is no point applying if unfortunately you don't have the supporting grades. Because they just won't really call you for interview. So just having a feel for the application process and understanding what they're looking for. But also you shouldn't apply just because of the name. You should really, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, it's a 6-year course. It is quite demanding. It is very demanding. So you need to make sure that you'll be able to you're able to make it through that. And in the end of the day, there are various different learning styles out there. There's PBL, the traditional course, and also the integrated course. So I think you can spend this time researching the various different teaching styles and actually getting a feel for what you think will suit you best. And I think the best way of doing that is actually talking to current students. I think that helped me immensely. So Lucy, as I mentioned, is a Cambridge student. So talking to her about the traditional course structure was really helpful in making me realize that this was the course for me, sort of thing. This suited me. Also talking to students from various other universities really helped me understand the various different teaching styles and what I felt would work best for me. But also I think this is also a perfect time to build that reflection bank and start thinking about, okay, maybe I might have had some of my work experiences cancelled, but how can I relate skills of a doctor to the activities I've done in school, for example? If you're so I know Laura's a captain of her swimming team, which is, I mean, that has so many skills. Like, whilst doing it, you might think, okay, it's just a title, but there's so many skills attached. And I'll let Laura talk about how she's kind of...
I'm very mindful that we
I was
just near the end.
I was just about to say actually that we are reaching the end of our meeting now. Laura and Kobe are going to be doing a few more Q&A sessions at the same time over the next few weeks. Laura, Kobe, just thank you so much for doing this. Any sort of really lasting tips, things that you found the most helpful, useful throughout your application? Could you just give us like a quick summary in a minute?
Yeah, I'd say like one of the main things would be plan ahead, like plan your application ahead. So you would have quite a few things to do, but you can manage to do them if you prioritize what's most important for your application. So your predicted grades are really important. Then comes your BMAT, and then like your personal statement, and then just try and see that doesn't matter that you have a wonderful extracurricular activity, because it's not so much of what you do, but what you get from it.
Yeah.
So if you can plan ahead and make the most out of your experiences, I think you're in good stead for applying to Oxford.
So as well as planning, I would also recommend trying to be as proactive as possible and making the most of the opportunities that are still available here. So the summer schools, for example, I think the Brighton summer school is still going ahead, and Lorraine and Cole will obviously update you with the various things that Oxford and Cambridge have to offer. But I would also mention about being proactive in regards to talking to medical students or people who have just been through the process, such as myself and Laura, because we have learned so much through the application process, and we're more than happy to share that information with you. So just be in contact with us, and that will definitely help you gauge what the application process is like. So I think that helps a lot, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And also, Lorraine and Cole, thank you for hosting such a fantastic session and for asking all those really useful questions. We're going to end the meeting now. I just want to say that if you haven't already signed up for the Virtual Medical Society, I'd strongly encourage you to do that. There's a form on the website, and the next meeting is on Tuesday. There's a huge agenda which is packed full of stuff that your fabulous student committee have put together for you, so it's not something that you should really miss out on. So I'd really encourage you to take a look at that. It's a really wonderful resource. And yeah, so thank you very much, everybody. We're going to end the meeting, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. Hope to see you next week. Bye.